And welcome to the Hallpreezy Universe. I am King HP, and aka known as Father, and this is our WandaVision Episode 2. I guess we're just gonna call it a recap conversation because that's really what it is. Start things off with Episode 2. We talked about a bunch of things with Episode 1, but I want to just go right into the Episode 2. Episode 2, we get the separate beds, WandaVision. I don't know what's going on here, why it didn't dawn on them. I mean, maybe that's a thing that was popular in the 50s to have separate beds with married couples. Who knows? But there's a banging on the door. Now, I'm lying. It wasn't at the door. That was at the window. But the thing about it is Vision is scared. Vision does the most unprotective thing you can possibly do, where he does not want to go see about this banging that's at the window. Causing Wanda, Wanda's up first, and Wanda's clicking the lights on, using her powers, because she's not really trying to see what all that is, but she knows something's not really right. Now remember, she's the conscious person here, right? Because we still don't know what state Vision's in. Is he within this reality that Wanda's created so no one else can see him? Or is he back? Like, what is Vision right now, right? So we don't know. Or is Vision just... It's a lot of unanswered questions. So anyway, moving forward. So, and anyway, they end up getting up. Wanda uses her powers, and they see it's a tree beating the window down. No big deal. Cool, funny moment. Haha. They have the studio audience laugh like they used to do in Scooby-Doo or whatever. And they make the beds together. That's awesome, right? Just keep that moment in mind, because essentially that's the moment of conception, I guess, right? Because later on we find out that Wanda's... we're going to keep it going, right? Because we're going to get to that part in the end. Pregnant. But as we go through the episode, Vision is performing magic tricks. He's got things going with this, and there's a town function. With this town function, Agnes constantly coming back. Agnes is essentially the third character. She's the pivotal character. We don't know if she's acting on behalf of the good side of Wanda or the bad side for Wanda. But I do want to point something out here in about 2 minutes, and I'm going to tap my foot for a test answer, essentially, when I bring this up. So they go to this little thing where they meet a new character. We meet Dottie, and Agnes informs us that, hey, Dottie runs things, right? She's the person you got to get in with. I mean, in this town, it's Dottie or nothing, right? So, and Marvel goes to a point to prove this right from the gate. As soon as we meet Dottie, there's a woman there talking about she didn't bring the chairs for whatever event they were having, and Dottie immediately punks her.
Antique footlights, it's because they're from my store.
And the chairs?
I'm sorry, Dottie, I didn't ask about the chairs.
So you better not ask me if you can chair any committees in the future.
There's a couple things here, as we're pointing out. Dottie knows a lot, right? But something gets said here, and I think it's overlooked. Dottie says,
Oh, the devil's in the details, Bev.
That's not the only place he is.
As you all know.
that's not the only place he is. And when he said the devil's in the details, that refers to him as a character. Now, we've seen outlandish characters, I guess you could say, in Marvel. I think that's alluding to who could be pulling strings, or who Agnes is married to, and whose interest is Agnes acting upon. Is she acting in the best interest of Wanda, or somebody trying to manipulate Wanda because they understand how powerful she is, or could be, or become, whatever. So anyway, they go into this thing where Wanda, we get this a second run-in with this thing. And let me go back earlier in the episode. After the banging on the window, the next morning, Wanda goes outside. There is an in-color helicopter in the bushes. sees this color helicopter, and it has the circle with the sword in it. Sword. Once again. So that's now before we saw him at the end of the episode watching this television, right? And now we're seeing this again. So getting back to the track, they're at this town square, and Wanda is talking to Dottie. Oh, thanks for having me. You know, even though you made me clean, and I'm basically cleaning up after you. But remember what Agnes told her. This is a good way to get in. This is a good way to get in. Dottie starts to tell Wanda, like, I know exactly who you are and your husband, right? So Wanda is no punk. Wanda done stripped. She's about to ball Thanos up. So I don't know who Dottie thinks she is, because let's be honest, Wanda has dealt with some she's fought some of the most intergalactic feared people. But then something happens. The radio. There's, on the radio, when it was playing music, it actually was playing a weird song, Rhonda or something, Help Me, which kind of sounds like Wanda Help Me, which is ironic, or maybe it's not ironic because Marvel doesn't do anything by accident. But then the radio starts to say, someone comes in, it cuts in, and it's almost like an emergency broadcast, and they're saying, Wanda, who did this, Wanda? Who is doing this to you, Wanda? Right? So all of a sudden now you're like, what? And they hear this, and Wanda has got this look like, what is going on? What is that? But Dottie is like, oh my gosh, she was holding a glass. She squeezed the glass till it broke in her hand. She's bleeding. Now this is the second time we see a color in this world. And Dottie's reaction to it is like, what does a good housewife do when you get blood on, you get it out yourself or whatever. Something she says, but she doesn't seem fazed by this. Like there's red blood. Remember, it's a black and white thing, so it should just anyway. So we go on to this talent show, but at the same time, or right before this, Vision, he went to the neighborhood watch. He was a little perturbed by the bush smacking into the window. What we see there's a couple guys. Vision comes up, super protocol Avengers. Remember, Vision used to be Jarvis, right? And when they turned him human, he became Vision. He no longer kept up the AI name of Jarvis, right? So if you go back to Iron Man 1 and 2, you know how equipped Jarvis was for everything. Like, so when they're talking about having a neighborhood watch meeting, and they tell they tell Vision he can't jump in the conversation until they get to new business. Then they bring up new business, and he's asking about defense protocols and what is graffiti. Like, he is going through what are their statutes and regulations in accordance with, like, what? Like, listen, man, someone get this guy to calm down. Pretty comedic scene. Nothing crazy, but something happens that's kind of interesting. They give Vision a piece of gum. Now, Vision he understands he's not human, right? He fully understands that. But he says too much about it. Like, at his job, he told people he didn't have a skeleton. When they asked him, like, oh, you don't have any skeletons in your closet, right, Vision? And he's like, I don't have a skeleton. But it's always coming off as a joke because it's like someone's so straightforward. Like, that's such a weird thing to say, right? So Vision told him earlier he couldn't have food. He doesn't eat food. And then they're offering him gum. The guy makes a quick reference to it. He says, hey, this guy doesn't eat food. But gum isn't technically food. So Vision eats it. Well, the gum, it jacks up Vision's system, right? It gets all tangled up. It's sticky. He gets patted on the back. That's how he swallowed it. Because I don't think he had an intent to swallow. He was chewing on. He looked all weird. He didn't know what to do with it, right? So, but then it basically makes Vision drunk. It slows his gears down, and it goes through this like he's drunk, right? Vision does not. He is messing everything up, and he starts doing things that he should not do. He starts flying, which is, that's a Vision capability, but it's giving away things. Now, no, Wanda starts to cover for him, right? As soon as he starts flying, she, boom, uses her powers. She creates like the rope that will connect him to a hand crank, and she goes over there, and they're like, oh yeah, of course, oh, that's how he's doing it. Two people to watch: Dottie, Agnes. The cameras continue to show them throughout. Now, it's at this show we meet another person named Geraldine. Geraldine is not who they say she is. She appears to be Monica Rambeau. So if that's the case, and it's the case, but anyway, if that's the case, right, you have to go back and watch Captain Marvel a little bit, right, because that's the little girl who picked Captain Marvel's outfit. Remember, she was like, oh, they had the Kree colors. That's her. Now she's grown up, right? So that's how much time has passed, right? Just to give you a kind of idea, Captain Marvel took place in the 90s, mid-90s. Remember, she fell into the blockbuster. And now here we are, 20-some-odd, about 20-some-odd, 30-some-odd years later, right? Depending on when in the 90s it happened. So we get the Monica Rambeau. She's Geraldine. She's helping them, telling them when to go. She's basically a coordinator for all the talent show acts. And they're doing different things. Vision shows a feat of strength. He picks up a piano. Wanda uses her powers again, shows that the piano is now just a cardboard cutout. There's a reference to a guy in the crowd. He's like, that was my grandmother's piano. Like, he couldn't figure it out. Like, that was the real piano a second ago. But note to watch, Agnes and Dottie, right? They have two different type of, they both seem unfazed, but they both seem unfazed. Like, Dottie was more of a, and Agnes was like, Like, this is nothing new. I don't know if you guys all know who these people are, and what they can do. So it's almost, it's two people who are not phased, but at the same time, it's how they're not phased or what their intentions or motives are for these two. So Vision, they complete their magic act, but the last act is amazing, right? Because Vision is supposed to lock his wife in there. She's supposed to go through the trap door, spin back around, right? Basically a disappearing act. But Vision, his system is gunked. He's like, it's as if he's drunk. He forgets to put Wanda in there. He doesn't forget. He thinks he did, and he didn't. So when he noticed that he just messed that up, he's like, oh my gosh. So now the crowd's chanting, what's in the box? What's in the box? Because you didn't put anything in the box. You were supposed to watch Wanda get into the box. He's going to then do whatever he's going to do, open the box. She was gone out the back door, right? And then come back into it, and he would reopen the door. But Wanda never got in the box. So Wanda's looking at him. He's looking at Wanda. They don't know what to do. Wanda does a little. It's always a very I Dream of Genie fashion, right? And Monica Rambeau, or Geraldine, as she's introduced herself to us, she's in the box. As they're clapping, she asked him, like, what just happened? Like, I went from backstage to all of a sudden in the box. Vision's like, hey, a magician never tells, and unless you want to get it from the assistant. And she's like, I'm not doing it either, right? But again, she wasn't. Keep in mind, if you was, if I'm not gonna tell you where I'm at, but I'm in a secure spot, and if all of a sudden someone, well, Wanda's not I Dream of Genie, so it's not her nose that twitches, but or that was Bewitched, but she does her thing, and this woman gets taken from wherever she was at and placed here, and she's not like panicking, right? So 3 people now are on the watch list: Dottie, Agnes, and Geraldine, right? Whose side is who on? And as they go through this, they finally they get through it. They get their little award. They make their little speech. Wanda goes in the back. She takes the gum out of Vision because she's able to see, because she's like, what is going on with you, right? So she removes the gum from Vision. Vision goes right back to normal. And they go home. Long story short, they go home. Wanda pops up pregnant, like literally. Like, they were sitting down on the couch and they were saying something, having a small conversation. When she stood up, she was pregnant, like showing too, right? So she asked, is this happening? And then they hear this crash again, like same kind of like thing that happened with the bushes. This time they go outside, and Vision's actually not scared this time, because he's like, if it's that bush, I'm gonna. And they go outside in the front, and they're looking, and
what is that? Wanda.
and this guy comes out. He's got bees coming out, right? And when he walks out, look at his back. There's a symbol on his back. It's the circle with the sword in it, right? Sword. So it's the same people over and over, right? On multiple times. But Wanda says no. She rewinds time back to the point where she asked him, is this really happening again, right? She literally goes back to that moment. But she asks it slightly different. It's not the same way. Why is that important? Well, that might mean Wanda knows everything. Like, when she rewinded time, why didn't Vision be like, what just happened? Because Vision doesn't know. So maybe she's wiping memory as she's doing it. Now, this pretty much concludes episode 2. It ends with Wanda starting to turn. Well, Vision, they kiss, and Vision turns into color. Starts with his head. He goes back to his normal Vision colors, and it runs down his body, and then the whole room starts to turn. So this is why people thought it was slow. You didn't get much action. Let Marvel walk you down the path, okay? This is not a microwave story, all right? This is Thanksgiving. We got the collard greens, we got the yams, we got the turkey, we got the ham, we got the mac and cheese. I got cheese, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, cheese, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, chicken. Cheese, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, cheese, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, chicken. Cheese, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, cheese, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, chicken. Whatever you do on Thanksgiving, you know this ain't a microwave event, right? It's not a ding. Oh, we're right here. It's not Infinity War, right? Let Marvel tell their story. By episode 4, I expect to see some serious action, but they're building to it, right? And let Marvel tell the story. It's a marvelous story. It's definitely going through. Now, here's my observations. 1, everything that you see, I actually skipped the commercial. The commercial was important too because it was a watch. It was by Strucker. We see the Hydra symbol in the watch. Now, what's really important about these commercials? A couple things. 1, these are the same 2 people that were in the first commercial. Maybe that's interesting. Maybe it's not. Who are these 2 people? My guess, Wanda's parents. This is all Wanda's reality. And Wanda, we kind of get some age symbology here a little bit, because if Geraldine is Monica Rambeau, and she was a kid in the 90s, that means Wanda, who's around the same age, was a kid in the 90s. So why is these things significant? That means she was born in the 80s. Why is these things significant? Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie, Brady Bunch, these are things she probably witnessed. So as we start to see her realities unfold of she wants this happy time, what is she going to look at? Her childhood memories. That's most people's, not all, but many people's favorite time. So the things we're seeing are where she spent her time. And then when we get the commercials, we're also seeing, I don't know who these 2 people are, but I'm going to guess, I'm going to throw it out on a limb, it's their parents, because we haven't met them at all. And we also know, well, yes, we know Wanda's a mutant in the comics. She's the son of Magneto. But how the MCU may spin it may be different. Right? May be different, because one thing we do know is Eric Lencher, who's Magneto, who's her father, has a different name. They may make him a whole new character by the time they bring him in, where he is not, because remember, he's a Holocaust survivor. That's what makes Magneto special. Well, one of the many things that make Magneto special, right? But if you lose it in real time, 2023, and you look back to when the Holocaust was, and Magneto was a child, who are you going to cast to play that, and how many years are you going to be able to have him around? Right? Magneto, Professor X, were also based in the civil rights movement. Why am I bringing that up? If they're going to bring those guys in, they may look to do a civil rights type of story, which is their actual basis origin, as per Stan Lee. And this way it keeps them a little bit younger, but they're older, versus senior citizen old, and you have to cast a very old actor, right? So that's something we see. I only bring that up because they may not use him as Wanda Maximoff's parent, because we also see her last name is Maximoff. It's clear the MCU sticking with that. So we may see it to where that time that she spent, her parents were killed. Strucker, von Strucker, Baron von Strucker, or whatever, the Hydra agent in Age of Ultron, they were saying how they ran experiments on people, and these are the only two that made it. So maybe how the MCU is going to tie this together, I'm not quite sure, but trust and believe they have a ribbon with a bow. It's already done. It's written on the wall. They got it. They got the storyboard. They got the poster board. They got every type of board you got, chalkboard, and they've already mapped this thing out. We're just happen to watch it play out. So yeah, the first 2 episodes, they weren't Infinity War, no, but let Marvel walk you down this path. Tune in, find out. Let's see what happened. Let's find out who Ralph is. Let's drop your theories in the comments below. Who do you think Dottie is? What is her affiliation? Is she just a character just made up by Wanda, or being orchestrated? Is Mephisto a part of this? That's the devil creature. I mean, there's a lot of things that Marvel, a lot of places Marvel can go with this. So it'll be very interesting to see. Or will they use a Dormammu style character to take some of Mephisto's place, and that's how Agnes works, working out of the dark dimension. I mean, who knows? Marvel, they've done a great job. Well, we're gonna get ready to wrap this thing up. So if you definitely have any comments or questions, please drop them in the comments below. And again, thank you for tuning in to the Hallpreezy Universe. This was the WandaVision 2 episode 2 recap conversation. But please, again, like and subscribe. Tell a friend and share. Definitely would look forward to seeing more people, so we can have even greater conversations, more questions, and we have some other content coming down the road. Stay tuned for WandaVision Episode 3. Hallpreezy Universe thanks you.